My name is Marjorie Lane Whitaker, and I am 81 years old. I've lived in California most of my life, but nothing has ever stayed with me the way the summer of 1964 did. People say first love never leaves you, but I don't think that's quite true. I think the right love carves itself into you so deeply that even the ocean can't wash it away. That summer, well, it shaped me in ways I'm still trying to understand all these years later. Back then, I was 19 and working at a small cafe off Highway 1 near Big Sur. Tourists came for the view, but locals came for the lemon pie. I served tables in a blue cotton dress with my hair tied back in a ribbon because the ocean wind could get wild. I remember the air always smelling like salts and eucalyptus, and every morning the fog rolled in like a soft blanket before the sun burned it away. One afternoon, I saw him for the first time. He walked in barefoot, with a surfboard tucked under his arm, dripping seawater on the wooden floor. His hair was sun-bleached, and his smile looked like he carried summer inside his chest. His name was Daniel Hart. He was 22, from Santa Cruz, and he said he'd stop for pie, but stayed because he liked the way I laughed. I pretended not to blush, but I did. He came back the next day, and the next, and the next. Sometimes he'd bring me little gifts he found on the beach. Smooth stones, a strange shell, a feather that reminded him of me. We'd sit outside on the cliffside steps when my shift ended, talking about music and books and dreams that felt too big for the world we lived in. He told me he wanted to see every ocean on Earth. I told him I just wanted to understand myself. There was something about him, something free, not careless, just unbound. He lived like time wasn't chasing him. One evening, he asked if I wanted to watch the sunset from the cliffs above Pfeiffer Beach. The sky turned the color of peaches and gold, and the waves below crashed like distant applause. He kissed me for the first time right there, with the wind in my hair and the world feeling impossibly young. I remember thinking that if happiness had a sound, it would be the sound of those waves. The whole summer felt like that. Warm, bright, unreal. We'd drive down the coast in his old blue Volkswagen van. He'd sing along to the radio, loudly and off-key, and I'd laugh until my ribs hurt. We'd camp under the stars and talk until sunrise. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. Not looked at, seen. But life, like the tide, can turn quietly. Late August brought stronger swells. Daniel said it was normal, that the ocean was just stretching before autumn arrived. I didn't know enough to be afraid of it. Not yet. On the last weekend of summer, he wanted to surf one more time before heading north for a job he'd been offered. We both knew our little bubble was ending, but we didn't talk about it. He kissed my forehead that morning and said, "One last wave, Marjorie, then we'll decide what we are, you and me." I waited for him on the beach. At first, everything looked beautiful. The sun, the water, him. But the waves grew taller, rougher, faster. I saw him paddle out, small against the vastness of it all. He caught one wave, then another. He looked unstoppable. And then the sea changed. A heavy set rolled in, too strong, too sudden. I watched him drop from the crest of a wave that bent in a way waves shouldn't bend. His board vanished. Then he vanished. For a moment, I thought he'd come back up smiling, shaking water from his hair. But he didn't. People ran into the surf. Lifeguards dove in. Strangers called his name. Waves kept crashing like they were trying to erase him. I stood there frozen, salt on my lips, but I couldn't tell if it came from the ocean or from the tears I hadn't realized were falling. They found his board. They never found him. Some people say the sea takes what it loves. Others say it takes what we're not ready to lose. I don't know which one is true. I only know that the boy who taught me how big a heart can feel became a story carried by the wind and the waves. I stayed in Big Sur for another year, hoping, praying that one morning he'd walk barefoot into the cafe again. But he never did. Life moved on, even when I didn't want it to. I married a kind man years later, had children, built a life I'm proud of. But some loves aren't meant to be lived with. Some are meant to be remembered. Daniel was never a chapter. He was a season, short, blinding, unforgettable. People think tragic love is about loss, but it's not. It's about the way a person can change you, even if they only stay for a moment in the grand story of your life. When I think of Daniel now, I don't see the wave that took him. I see the sunset on Pfeiffer Beach, his smile in the wind, and the summer that taught me the difference between loving someone and keeping someone. That was my last summer at Big Sur, and I carry it with me still.